The Wild West was full of danger, betrayal, and impossible love stories, but none as shocking as this one. A lone cowboy rides into a powerful Apache village, ready to ask for the hand of the woman he loves. But instead of welcome, he's met with a sacred law that turns his life into a fight for honor. 3 sisters, 3 deadly trials, 1 chance at love. Before we begin this unbelievable story, make sure you subscribe to Love in the Old West, share this video, and comment where you're watching from. Now saddle up, let's start this video. The last light of evening stretched across Red Willow Basin as Grant Hale guided his weary horse down a narrow ridge, his silhouette cutting through the fading gold like a lone shadow searching for purpose. Dust clung to his coat, the trail had worn his muscles stiff, but the determination in his eyes stayed sharp. Tonight wasn't about survival or bounty hunting or escaping some outlaw past. Tonight he rode towards something far more dangerous than bullets or blizzards. He was riding to claim a future. A future with the only woman who had ever managed to break open the iron walls around his heart. Yana of the Elkstone clan had captured him without trying, her voice calm as a mountain stream, her gaze fierce as a lightning strike. Grant remembered the first day he saw her, standing beside a wounded horse, her palms steady, her courage unwavering. She didn't flinch when he offered help, and she didn't hesitate when she challenged him. From that moment, Grant knew she was a force born of earth and sky, someone he couldn't forget even if he wanted to. And now, after seasons of shared trails, stolen glances, and quiet promises, he had returned to ask for her hand. But asking wasn't simple in her world. Not with her sisters guarding her like the wind guards a flame. Not with sacred tribal law standing tall between them. When Grant reached the open clearing of the Elkstone encampment, the fires were already burning in slow, steady circles, casting shadows that danced against the cedar posts. Dozens of eyes shifted toward him, some calm, some cold, some unreadable. Yana stepped forward, her braids tied with raven feathers, her stance strong as ever, but the small tremor in her breath betrayed her worry. Grant touched the brim of his hat, lowering his gaze with respect, and she gave him a soft, almost hidden smile. But before he could speak another word, the eldest of her 3 sisters stepped into the firelight. Naira carried authority in every breath she took. Her tall frame, scar-lined arms, and storm-dark eyes had intimidated even the fiercest warriors. She looked at Grant not with anger, but with the steady weight of someone who had judged 100 men and found them lacking. Behind her stood Tala, silent as snowfall, and Seraphine, sharp-eyed and quick like a desert fox. Together, they formed the wall Grant had to cross if he hoped to reach the woman he loved. "So, Cowboy," Naira said, her voice firm enough to still the wind, "you think you can marry our sister?" Grant lifted his head. "If she wants me, and if your clan permits it, then yes. I've come to prove my intentions honest and honorable." The surrounding elders exchanged murmurs, but Naira simply stepped closer, studying him like she was measuring his spirit inch by inch. Then she said the words that froze the entire camp into silence. "By sacred law, no man may marry our sister unless he proves his worth to us first. You must satisfy the sisters before you stand before the elders." Grant felt the weight of every eye shift toward him. "Satisfy? How?" Tala answered softly, though her tone cut like frost. "Not with words, not with gifts." Seraphine crossed her arms and added, "You will face our trials, survive them, succeed in them, and you may claim the right to ask for Yana." Yana stepped forward urgently. "Grant, you don't have to do this. These trials, no outsider has ever completed all 3. Grant's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "Tell me the first trial." Seraphine smirked and pointed toward the black horizon. "At dawn, you will ride into Shadow Gulch. There is a wild Mustang there, a spirit horse no man has ever captured. Bring it back without breaking it. Bring it back by earning its trust. Do that, and you pass my trial." That night they gave him a small lodge to rest in, though sleep refused to come. Yana slipped inside after the fires burned low. She sat beside him, her voice barely a whisper. "Grant, if you get hurt, if you don't come back." He gently cupped her hands. "I've been through storms, wars, and loneliness. None of them scared me like the thought of losing you." She looked at him, eyes glistening like the first dew of dawn. "Promise me you'll return." Grant didn't make promises lightly. But tonight, he nodded. At first light, he rode into the jagged maze of Shadow Gulch. The desert wind cut sharp across the canyons, carrying with it the scent of dust and old secrets. His horse snorted uneasily as the rock walls narrowed. The Mustang he sought was rumored to be the fastest creature in these lands, a ghost-striped stallion marked by fire and thunder. Grant dismounted near the dried creek bed, where tracks twisted through the sand like veins of a living beast. For hours he followed them, footprints, broken brush, the faint pattern of hooves scraping stone. Then, as the sun climbed high, he saw it. Magnificent black and white Mustang stood across the ridge, its mane whipping wild like a storm wind, its muscles coiled with power. It eyed Grant with a mixture of challenge and curiosity, the raw spirit of an untamed world shining in every line of its stance. Grant knew instantly that forcing the horse would only end in blood or failure. So instead of reaching for a rope, he simply sat down. He placed his palms on the ground, breathed slow, and let the silence speak for him. Hours passed. The Mustang stamped, snorted, circled, but Grant remained grounded, offering neither threat nor fear. When the sun began to fall, the horse stepped closer, drawn by the strange calm of the cowboy who refused to chase it. When its muzzle finally brushed Grant's open hand, he exhaled a long breath he hadn't realized he was holding. With soft words and steady movement, he walked beside the wild creature, earning its respect rather than taking its freedom. By sunset, the entire camp gasped as Grant returned, leading the untamed Mustang with nothing but quiet authority. Seraphine's smirk faded into awe. "You did not break him," she said quietly. "No," Grant replied. "I didn't need to. He chose to follow." Seraphine nodded, conceding her trial. But Naira stepped forward with a cold whisper. "One trial does not win our sister's hand. The second is far harder." Grant met her gaze without blinking. And that was when she told him the next challenge, one many warriors of their own blood had failed. Tala, the quiet middle sister, moved forward the moment Seraphine stepped back. Her eyes, calm yet unreadable, settled on Grant like drifting moonlight searching for weakness. She carried a single woven rope in her hands, its fibers darkened with age and tradition. "Your next trial begins tonight," she said softly, her voice carrying farther than the crackling fire behind her. "You will guard the sacred ridge until dawn. Wolves have taken our goats this season. If even one crosses into our valley while you watch, you fail." The challenge wasn't about strength, it was about endurance, awareness, spirit. Grant accepted without hesitation. He climbed the ridge under a moonless sky, guided only by memory and instinct. The cold wind scraped his face, and jagged stones shifted beneath his boots. Once he reached the top, he lit a small fire using only twigs and bark. He kept it dim enough to keep frost away, but not enough to expose himself to predators. Hours slipped by with nothing but silence. No wolves, no movement, no threats. But the tension in the air was thick. As the night grew deeper, a quiet warning that something was approaching. Grant stood slowly, hand resting on his rifle. Leaves rustled behind a nearby boulder. Then a low growl drifted into the darkness, followed by the gleam of 3 pairs of predatory eyes. Wolves. They slipped forward with cautious steps, their bodies tense, their hunger sharp from weeks of scarce food. Grant raised his rifle but didn't fire. He knew a single bullet would echo through the valley, startling the herd and angering the tribe. Instead, he grabbed a dry tin plate from his pack and struck it hard against a stone, unleashing a ringing metallic blast that echoed through the canyons like thunder. Startled, the wolves froze. Grant struck the plate again, the sound vibrating through the ridge. With a fierce shout, he stepped forward, swinging the tin, making himself appear larger. The wolves growled, uncertain. Another clash of metal, another defiant shout. Finally, the pack backed away, ears pinned, and disappeared into the darkness, defeated not by violence but by courage and noise. Grant stayed alert the rest of the night. No other creature dared approach. When the first thin ribbon of dawn broke across the horizon, he descended the ridge with exhausted steps but unbroken spirit. Tala waited below. Her calm eyes scanned his face, reading everything he did not say. Then she nodded once, a gesture of rare approval. "You have guarded our valley," she said. "You have satisfied my trial." Grant bowed his head slightly, grateful but focused. Only one sister remained, and that meant the hardest trial was yet to come. Naira, the eldest, stepped forward, her expression shadowed with something deeper than challenge, something almost protective. "You have strength," she said, "and patience. But marriage requires more than bravery. It requires sacrifice. The final trial will test your heart." She pointed toward the jagged cliffs beyond the camp. Our ancestors' flame burns in a hidden cavern. Bring it back before sunset. But know this, only a man worthy of our sister's life will make it out again. Diana gasped softly. Naira, know that path, even our warriors fear it. Naira didn't look away from Grant. This is the sacred law. If he cannot face darkness for her, he does not deserve her. Grant nodded, though his pulse thudded like distant thunder. I'll return, he said quietly. Diana stepped close, placing her hand over his. Grant, promise me you'll be careful. I'll be more than that, he whispered. I'll be yours. The trail to the cavern was brutal. Slanted rock shifted underfoot. Thorn bushes tore at his clothes. The sun beat down mercilessly. Hours passed before Grant finally reached the jagged mouth of the cave. It breathed out cold air, heavy with ancient earth. Inside, darkness swallowed everything. He lit a small torch and stepped into the depths where the walls narrowed and shifted like the ribs of a sleeping beast. The deeper he went, the louder the cave seemed to whisper, echoes of old spirits, warnings of those who never made their way back. When he reached the cavern's heart, he saw it, a single flame burning inside a stone bowl carved with symbols older than any tribe. But the moment he stepped closer, the ground trembled. A portion of the ceiling collapsed behind him, blocking the exit. Dust filled the air as Grant shielded his face. He was trapped. For a heartbeat, fear clawed at him, but then he saw the flame, untouched, steady, waiting. I didn't come all this way to fail now, he muttered. Using his torch as leverage, he pried at the rocks. He pushed. He clawed. Sweat poured down his face. Finally, after what felt like hours, a narrow opening cracked through. Grant slid through the gap, tearing his shirt and scraping his shoulder raw, but he kept the flame steady, cupping it inside a carved bowl he carried. The sun was sinking fast. He ran down the cliffs, leaped over stones, stumbled, rose, kept running. Every breath burned his chest. Every heartbeat thundered in his skull. But he didn't stop, not until the camp's fires came into view. The tribe stood waiting. Grant staggered forward, raising the flame high. The moment Naira saw it, her eyes widened, not with pride but with respect. You faced the darkness, she said softly, and you brought back the light. She stepped aside. You have completed all trials. Diana rushed to him, tears in her eyes, laughter breaking through her trembling breath. I knew you, return, she whispered. Grant held her close, his exhaustion melting in her arms. The elders stepped forward, blessing the union in low rhythmic chants. Naira, Tala, and Seraphine stood together, no longer gatekeepers but sisters of welcome. Cowboy, Naira said, her voice warmer than ever before, you have satisfied us all. You may marry our sister. As the tribe erupted in celebration, Diana leaned into Grant's chest, whispering, this is our beginning. And Grant smiled, the weight of his trials lifting like dawn breaking over the valley. No, he said softly, kissing her forehead, this is our forever. The cowboy had earned not only love, but a family that would stand with him until the end of his days.